Broadcasting live from our studio in Boston, Solutions Review is proud to showcase Paessler in the Solution Spotlight, a unique online event for industry professionals.
I'm Doug Atkinson here at Solutions Review, and welcome to the Solution Spotlight featuring Paessler and focused on the benefits of SLA monitoring for network uptime. In today's interconnected digital world, where businesses rely heavily on networks to drive operations, a network service level agreement serves as the contractual backbone that ensures your network infrastructure operates at peak efficiency, reliability, and security. SLAs play a vital role in setting customer expectations and maintaining service quality. And SLA compliance is critical for business continuity. So today, we'll focus our spotlight on some real examples of how to define, configure, and monitor SLAs in Paessler PRTG and how to optimize compliance with comprehensive reporting in PRTG SLA Reporter. And to walk us through today's Paessler presentation is Thomas Wächter, Senior Technical Advisor, and Libor Smyček, Senior IT Specialist. Gentlemen, thanks for being with us.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having us.
Well, thanks for being here. The subject matter is a real good nuts and bolts one, and we love these types of conversations because ultimately, you know, SLAs and network monitoring is really kind of core to really what makes the digital world work these days. Thomas, before we get going, you know, I know Paessler's been doing this for some time now. I mean, what have you seen in terms of the value of having really tight monitoring on an SLA?
Yeah, hello, my name is Thomas Wächter, and I was one of the guys initiating the development of this SLA extension, and I'm working with PRTG Paessler now since 2006. And monitoring, this is something that is so important in today's time, but it was also important in the times before. So I was CEO of several companies in the IT environment, and it was always very important to prove to the customer that the SLA or the SLO you have signed, you are fulfilling them. And therefore, from the beginning, we are developing a tool to collect the information out of the monitoring, to bring it together, and then to show to the customer, yes, we fulfill it. And that's very important. This gives you the stability, the trust in your environment that everything works fine. That's the reason why I see monitoring as one of the most important things you need in your IT.
Yeah, and I'm going to let you guys get at it, but before I do, I want to set everybody's expectations that we'd love to have any questions that you might have, and the best way to do that is to submit them, and let me kind of gather them all together, and then I'll save them for the end of the presentation. We'll have a little bit of a Q&A, and go over any questions that you might have. But for the time being, Thomas, I'm going to hand it over to you and let you take it from here, and then I know you're going to hand it over to Libor, and he's going to walk through a little bit of a demonstration. So I'll sit back. I'll keep my eyes open on all this stuff. I'll probably have a few questions myself, but until then, yeah, the floor is yours.
Okay. Yeah, so we will first present you some information about Paessler. So we are a German company, and we describe ourselves as monitoring expert because this is the only focus we are working on. PRTG, this is a tool about what we are talking today, is over 20 years on the market. It is continuously developed and is widely used by over 4,000 partners and nearly 500,000 customers globally. So we talk about PRTG, and the PRTG name is named Paessler Router Traffic Grapher. This is the basis of our monitoring products covering IT monitoring, but also extending into OT to facilitate industrial monitoring. In healthcare, we are able to monitor healthcare imaging, medical devices via HL7 and DCOM. If you have questions about this, we can talk in the Q&A session. And in the data center, we can, of course, monitor physical and environment elements too. We have three main products. The network monitor, which is our perpetual license. Then we have hosted monitor where Paessler hosts a PRTG for you and keeps it up to date. So this is something like solutions that you don't need to do something on your own, but you as customer are responsible for the configuration. This is something like a service. And then we have Enterprise Monitor, which is a subscription only license and has more functionalities than our normal PRTG. What we can do with the PRTG is that you can monitor systems. But what is also very important that we have additional extensions so that you can enhance this functionality. Yeah, because monitoring seems to be so simple, but you have a complex environment. You have a lot of parameters around, and therefore we developed extensions so that you can have special features also available. And one of these features is the OPC UA server. This consolidates IT and OT monitoring. This is very important if you are working in the industrial environment, yeah, computer integrated manufacturing and something like this. Then we have features which are called PRTG multiboard. Yeah, with a multiboard, you can combine the results of several PRTG cores because perhaps you have an extreme large environment, which some customers do have, and then you have perhaps several PRTG installations all over the world, and you want to bring this information together. And then we have here a tool to have an overview of all of your PRTG installations. This is a great tool for customers with a very large implementation. Then we have the tool about which we will discuss more today. This is the SLA reporting. The SLA reporting is what I meant before. This is one of the most important tools if you have any SLOs with your customers that you need to prove that something's working, or you can use it also for you internally, for your internal review to see if the IT environment is working correctly. So this is very important, and it's also able to add information out of all your PRTG cores you have worldwide, and you can combine them with this SLA reporting. And then there's a special field, so you have very often a lot of databases in your environment, and it's very critical if these databases are not working. And only to say my service of a database is up and running, this is silly. Yeah, the database could be up and running with the service, but it could not work because there were perhaps blocks or even deadlocks in your database. And these are things, therefore, we have an own extension monitoring especially all kind of databases, or nearly all kind of databases. There are, of course, some we don't support, but most of the common database we support. And this is not only to say this database runs, it's really a health status of the database. That's really a very good tool. And then at the end, we have the database exporter. You need to imagine your data you have inside the monitoring. This is a real value. This is something you can use for tons of other things. Yes, you have all this information of your network, of your applications, of everything you have inside the PRTG. And with the data extraction, you can export all this data, integrate it in an external database, and then you can use this data as a big data warehouse. And you can, of course, analyze this data and use it for a lot of purposes. So that's very important. Today, we will focus on the SLA reporter. What I want to tell you, and I think hopefully you have this feeling with our experience, and especially also for me, I'm now 20 years in this environment working. I believe that we know your pain. We know that you have 24/7, you need to have 24/7 monitoring of your IT, OT, and this is not easy. You need to have a system which you can fully trust so that the results and the alarms coming out are really critical, and that you can use it and optimize it for having a minimal downtime. And our aim is to help you to build bridges rather than fight fires within your organization. Means better to analyze a problem before it's really a problem. And therefore, we will start with the SLA topic. Yeah, so SLA compliance and network uptime. Okay. I already started a bit to tell you about SLAs. Yeah. what you can do with it is clear. Yeah, you have a SLO. Yeah, this SLO you need to fulfill. Therefore, you define the SLA and then it runs. But of course, you can do much more with a SLA. Yeah, you can make much better business decisions based on facts. Yeah, and you have a much higher efficiency because you have values. Yeah, you can really say, for example, each Friday, based on the analysis, I see that there is a problem with my availability or with response times. And what else? You have it in effect in the one time part in the PRTG in form of data and analyzed in the form of a SLA. And you can use, you will see it later in the dialogues, we have here some topics integrated so that you can create threshold values, which are not really say, okay, so this SLA is breached, but it shows the IT team, okay, it's nearby to be breached. So you can use this SLA tool also as something like a preemptive monitoring. Yeah? This means you can say, okay, look on this. It's not breached, but it's nearby. Have a look on it. Check it. Yeah. And this is very important if you have, for example, a worldwide production. With the SLA tool, you can roll out the downtime to the systems, and afterwards, even if you have it as breached, you can edit it anyway and say, okay, but this was not a real problem of my IT. This was a problem caused by the customer, and then you can say, I set it back as not as a downtime, I set it back as a planned downtime, and then it's out of the calculation. How you can monitor the SLAs is what we will show you in the next part of this presentation. We have here one example. This is a customer, Libor and me worked on this project very long. It's a company, a big company in Switzerland. And Mirko Blöchliger, this is the CEO of the company, was really at the beginning a little bit suspicious about it. And we managed to migrate from a lot of monitoring system to Paessler PRTG only. And the guys there were really, how should I say, absolutely fascinated of the possibilities of Paessler, because you can integrate nearly everything, especially the automation feature was something that they loved very much. You have a link, and I think later if you have this, you can open the link and read the complete success story. The next is that I will show you some theory of the SLA Reporter, but I will mainly take only some main topics, and then the presentation will be much more interesting for you. So if you have some questions, you can then add them to the board, but perhaps some of these questions then will be answered by the presentation. And Paessler PRTG and the SLA Reporter, this I already told to you, is that you have the opportunity to export the data out of PRTG into our SLA Reporter. This is a SQL Server database. It's an Express edition. It's always enough to have this Express edition. Even at biggest customer, we had not the need. But of course, if you would have other SQL Server already, you could use them. And so this is a big advantage. You have the data with a delivered clear data structure inside a RDBMS system. And out of this, of course, you can use other reporting tools to create your own reports. Of course, we have very good own reports, which you also could adapt. And this you will see then in the presentation. Next step is that I would like to give you an overview about the PRTG SLA Reporter. Yeah, what is the main functionality beside, of course, configuration of the SLA is to create detailed reports so that you have a good overview and which you can then present to your customer so that the customer really understands that the systems are available. And if not, yeah, then you can add comments on it so that you can explain to the customer and discuss it with the customer. So this is the main goal of the SLA Reporter. SLA Reporter supports multiple PRTG servers. This is what I already told you. We have really extreme big customer on our success story. You will see stories of Austrian Railways, of Leica Hexagon, of Somnitec, and much more. And they have, of course, not only one PRTG server because they are working worldwide. Yeah. And this is something that is really important. And what you also have with the SLA reporter is something like a data collector. Yeah. So for example, you start today, but you have in the PRTG the data of the last year. Then you can recreate even of the last year your SLAs and the reports. And then if the PRTG then is overriding this last year, after a while, you have it anyway in the SLA reporter. So it's a historical data engine. It has no real-time data, that's clear, and it only manages status data. But you have this information as long as you want inside your SQL Server database. To manage it easy, you have the opportunity to use, filter, and categorize the monitored element with the PRTG tags, yeah, or out of the device tree. This we will see shortly in a dialog, which I will show, but you will see it in detail in the presentation. Of course, this always is only possible if you have a good configured PRTG. Yeah, this means you should use meaningful tags. For example, that you say one tag could be the name of a customer, second tag could be network infrastructure, and a lot of other things. You can combine these tags in these filter routes and say, okay, I want to have all for this customer, for network interfaces, and so on. Or you can filter directly by the sensor names, which I would not prefer, or you can select server groups and so on. You will see this in detail in the presentation, much better, or in the demo as I could do it here. But what you see is that you will see the tree of the PRTG, and then you can filter the rules. You have AND and OR criteria, and then you can very easily select it, click on the highest level if you want to have everything, and then the SLA is created. Very important is if someone creates, for example, you add in your network devices a new network device and you put the same tag on it, then it will be automatically integrated in the SLA. You have to do nothing. This is fully automated. The SLA definition is also something which is very important. And here I will explain you a little bit what we meant with these values. Yeah? So you see we have here for a first topic, the minimum per day, per month, per year. This is really, so represents the value. If you are below this, then the SLA is breached. Yeah? Then you have to pay money, or what else? No idea. Or you have to go to your customer and tell, sorry, it was not working. But then this is what I meant before, this expected with the same day, month, year. This represents a percentage which you can use to trigger your IT to react. Yeah? This is what I meant with preemptive monitoring. If these values are, I would say, breached, but then the SLA is still okay. Yeah? But then it's too low or nearby the breaching limit, then you can say, okay, dear IT, look, what could you do better? What could you do to keep the systems up and running? And then you have some additional things like expected monthly, yearly, and so on. Yeah, these are thresholds value which a lot of SLOs do contain. So we have it very often in our environment. So that customer says, okay, you are not allowed even to go below this value, and it's one time a year, and then you are dead. Yeah, so this is something you can define here. This is especially for the SLOs, and this is depending on the functionalities of our tool. And more details you can see in the live demo. Very important, if you have these SLA reports, you want to schedule the reports. And here, at the beginning, we thought, okay, monthly, that's enough for us. Internally, it was enough for first this tool we developed for our own purposes. But with customers, we have seen, wow, they have much more requirements than we had. So for example, you can create a report each 5th working day of a month, or you can say, I only want to have it yearly or weekly or even daily. Yeah, so you have here a lot of functionality to schedule the reports. Yeah, and I think this is clear. I think I don't need to explain it here step by step, but you have the opportunity of a wide range of scheduling. Yeah, now we are coming in the theory nearby to an end. So what you see here is at the is the report itself. Yeah. So this is how we present it to you and to your customers, and which information you see on the report. You see the total outages. This is the total number of outages. This is a silly number. You see, this is then more interesting, the total outage time. This is the accumulated time for the total number of outages. Then you have two calculated values. This is the mean time between failures and the mean time to repair. Now, mean time between failures means this is the average uptime between two downtime occurrences for the given SLA, and mean time to repair is the average amount of time for a downtime occurrence for the given SLA. And these are very important information you can keep in mind. You can discuss it with internally or with your customer and say, okay, look how fast we are. Or if it's not, then you can say, okay, we need to improve our processes. Then you can manage these downtimes. Before you send out the report, you have the opportunity, for example, to add a ticket number, a command, set it as planned or unplanned. This I already explained to you. I hope I was not too fast, because for me this is a very common thing, but I hope that then in this case a live demo will give you more ideas and show it more concrete to you. So I will now hand over to my colleague Libor, who will show you the capabilities of the PRTG SLA Reporter.
First, I think I will start a little bit with the PRTG. Maybe there are some of you that do not really have the experience with PRTG or using different monitoring tool. So just a very brief overview and look into PRTG. So this is like a example configuration in PRTG. This is very nice and everything is green. Usually you wouldn't really see it like this, but in our case, we are lucky. So just briefly, PRTG is an agentless monitoring system. You typically have one installation. We could have multiple probes for PRTG that are collecting the data from different sections of the network or different locations. But those are not like agents that you would need to install on each and every system. And you collect data over like lot of different monitoring protocols. You can collect like typically SNMPs, ping, WMI, SSH, and net flows, and pretty much anything that you can think of in regards of network monitoring of network components. In this example, what I have here, this is just like very small data center. I called it Awesome DC. And here, let's assume that I have two locations. So I have some location A, location B, and there, just for simplicity, I have some customers, and these customers are having some VMs. I host the VMs for those customers. So as I said, like very simplified things. Typically, you would have much more complex structure, but yeah, just for the demo. In PRTG, in the structure, maybe a little bit about that, you have pretty much like three kinds of objects. You have groups, you have devices, and you have sensors. So all that you see here, the Awesome DC location, and then the customer ABC, these are all the groups. You can have as many groups as you need. You can do the structure with these groups to whatever extent you need. Then you have devices, and let's take this one as example. So typically the device represents some physical network device on your network. So it could be like, it doesn't really need to be physical in this case. It's a virtual machine, but it is something that has IP address assigned. But it also does not need to be always the case. That it can be a router, it can be a switch, it can be a server, it can be a database server, it can be VM, as in this case, or it can be plenty of other different devices. On that device, then you would assign sensors. So these green things that you see here, these are the sensors that are already monitoring some specific aspect of that device. So in this case, again, very simple. I have some ping sensor, I have some service sensors that are just basically representing some services that are being hosted on these VMs. It could be a database service, it could be application service, it could be web service, whatever it might be. And then I have some more additional things that I want to keep an eye on. So some CPU, memory, network, but you can have like hundreds of different types of sensors. What I wanted to show you here is, and what is important to understand is, you have these tagging system across all the PRTG, and the tags are always inherited from the parents to the child objects. So whenever, let's say, I go to this location A group and go to settings, I can assign some tags here. And here you see I have assigned a tag that is called location A. I can add additional tags or choose from existing tags that are already there. I can do whatever tags I like. And then if you would go just, for example, to any of these objects, you would see that there is from a parent text, there is already the customer A and the location A, and I can then assign another text here directly on this device, which I don't need to do for now, but this is how it works, because this will be important for the SLA and to understand how the SLA configuration can be done. Let's jump to the SLA reporter and have a look how this works. So this is the main dashboard, some overview, some nice overview, just for you to see, okay, when you log in, if you actually have some issues or not really. So here I see that some sensors for April are having some troubles, so I should perhaps have a look on it, but we'll see. When you want to define the SLA, it was also already shown in the slide. You go to the service level agreements, and I will just take one that is already existing and show you on this. So I'll just try to make it a little smaller. Good. So here you give it some nice name. The name would be then also used for the PDF reports. It would be visible also in the UI. So just make it some nice name so that it is something that could be eventually sent to the customer as well. Then you can choose a company here. The company really means it's like a group. It doesn't need to be a company. In our scenario, when we are talking about the data center, let's say this is kind of the customer, but it could be like a location. If you have just internal monitoring and internal SLAs to deliver, then perhaps you would have like location in Europe, location in USA, location in Austria, and you could group different SLAs based on this so-called company. But as I said, this is more as a group. You could give it some description. Again, this is something that would be visible in the PDF, so that someone who just sees the PDF without any further context would perhaps get more information what the report is about. Then for the more important configurations, so you give it some start date. And as it was already mentioned, you can also go sometimes like in some days into the past. Pretty much as long as you have the data in PRTG, you can still get or generate the SLAs and reports for those data that are stored in PRTG. And by default, all the data will be kept in PRTG for 1 year. So you should be, even if you get the SLA plugin and you perhaps already had PRTG before, you could still do the SLA reports generation for the last year. You could also define an end date, but typically you leave it empty, because if you leave it empty, that means that it will continuously collect the data and generate the reports as it goes, so it will never stop. So until you keep, as long as you keep the SLA active, it will always collect the data and it will always show you the current data. And then you have this minimum expected values per day, per month, per year. So this is just like simple example. So typically you per day expect perhaps a bit lower value than per month, so that you actually allow maybe some very short outage during a day. And then per year, this is where you are usually the most strict. And then for the expected, you go with typically a bit higher numbers than the minimum, because here you want to really be notified in advance if something is getting close to the minimum. So you want to see this expected breach before you actually have the SLA breached. Okay, so in the next step, you are defining the service window for the SLA. So you can, for each day, select a different operation time. This configuration here is pretty much showing 24/7. So for each day, I want to really collect the data and calculate the data for the full period. But what I could also do, I could say, okay, so for Monday, my business hours are like from 8 to 18, and all the time besides this would be ignored. So if there was an outage after 6 p.m., it would not affect the SLA. So this is also quite important to have the possibility to do that. And what you can also do the other way around. So you can say, this is kind of like reverse time frame, where you are saying, I'm only interested for whatever happened between the midnight and 8 a.m. and then whatever happens after 6 p.m. So this is what is included in the SLA, and this could be used, for example, you have a less strict SLA outside of business hours, and then you would have another SLA that would be more strict, that it would be focused for business hours. So in the next page, this is the last page of the configuration, you are assigning filters, and the filters are pretty much the rules that are telling you what sensors should be included in the SLA. So let's have a look on the filters. Filters, again, you can create as many filters as you like. You can assign as many filters as you like to a single SLA. So because sometimes it's not really possible, if you have a bit more complex rules that you want to achieve, sometimes it's not possible to do everything with a single filter. So sometimes you need to have multiple filters and then assign all of them to the SLA. And basically at the end, it will get all the sensors from all the different different filters, assign it to the SLA, and the SLA will just give you all the information. So in the filter, you can see here I have two PRTGs. So here you would have a list of PRTGs. I think I didn't really mention it or did not highlight this information too much before, but you can actually have multiple PRTG systems installed. So sometimes you have one PRTG core server, which has like, this interface, this web interface, where you manage all of your devices. Then you can have, as I mentioned, remote probes that would be used. For example, you have some location where you do not have full connectivity from this server, from this PRTG system, but you can at least make like a single tunnel from the remote probe to this core system. You can let this remote probe collect all the information from the remote location, and it will just send all this data to here, to the PRTG, and you would basically not even notice from here, from the UI, you would not even notice that those are coming from remote probes. Like, you would definitely see it, but it's kind of seamless, so it works all together. But besides that, sometimes you have really no chance to do the remote probes, or you perhaps have so many things to monitor that you really need multiple PRTG systems, or you have a different purpose for them, you don't want to combine it. Whatever reason you might have, you might end up with multiple PRTG cores. And with the SLA plugin, you can still combine the information from the multiple PRTG cores into one SLA. So no matter what reason there was for having multiple PRTGs, you can still have a single SLA getting data from those multiple PRTGs. So pretty much I will show you a little later on, you just register a new PRTG and you will get it. You will get it here. So for the definition of the filter, you need to select at least one of the object from PRTG. So this is pretty much all the three that you can see in PRTG. You can also see here, and you need to select some objects. So typically you would select some group or maybe device, but you don't want to really select specifically sensors, because if you select sensors manually, which you can do, it would be very static definition, and you want to have this dynamic nature to it, because you don't want to get back to the SLA and reconfigure it every time you delete or add a new sensor to PRTG. You want everything to be taken care of for you, so you just say, okay, I'm interested in eventually all the sensors that are coming from my awesome DC, but I only want to see those that are in location A and that are at the same time are service sensors. It will, if I use the logic AND logic, that means that only sensors that are matching both of these or that are having both of these tags will be actually included in the SLA. If I would use OR logic, then it would mean like, okay, you can have either of these tags, of course, and then it would be included in the SLA. And as I said, if you would have a bit more complex ruling, like a bit more or and in the rules that you want to employ, then you would need to use multiple filters, and the logic between multiple filters is always OR. So any sensor that is obtained or defined by one filter, or any sensor that is defined by the other filter would be included in the SLA. So this is really powerful, and this is really important to get it right, because at the end you want to have in the SLA only those things that you are really interested in and that you can then share with the customers or with the team leaders or whoever else. Okay, let's have a look quickly on how the reports looks like. This is the overview of the report. So here you see these are the report for March. I do not really have more data than that, so I only have for March and then for April. You always see like some overview about the SLA. So here you see, okay, uptime pretty good, pretty good, pretty good. Everything is green, everything is fine. If I would have a bit lower or higher expectations or higher limits, then some of these might already be red, might be breached, but fortunately it's not the case right now. If you go to the detail of SLA, you can then see again pretty much the same information here. You can see some graphs, so you can see when exactly there were some issues. So this was somewhere on 12th. There were some outages likely, or maybe this was the PRTG shutdown. We will see. And then you see the list of the sensors that are included in the SLA. So these are the ping sensors. So you see this is like ping sensors for 6 different VMs. And you see that some of them had some outages. You see the number of outage, so 2 outages here, 1 outage here, and then there are some that you also see the status for each different sensor, right? So this one had no outage at all, it's green. This one had 1 outage, but still it met the time, so the outage was very short, so it's still green. But these are unfortunately not green anymore. You can see on the timeline charts which days were affected by any kind of outage, and this is pretty much one outage at the end. This is continuous outage from started on 12 and went a little over midnight. Here you can see some details. So it started like 3:15 and went to like 1 minute after the midnight. Let's see if this one loads now. Okay, this one now loads, and this one ended exactly at midnight. Okay, so what you can do, you can go to details of these outages, and you can also, as mentioned before, because maybe you know that this outage was planned and it's only showing here as a red state because someone forgot to pause the sensor in PRTG. Because normally what you would do if you are going to do some, let's say, maintenance, you would go to PRTG, you would say, okay, I want to pause it for, let's say, 1 hour, because for next 1 hour I will be doing a maintenance, so I don't want any errors or any tickets reported, anything triggered from the PRTG, and this would also then not show in the SLA plugin as a red. But since this was not done, it is showing as red, but you can still go here and you can say, yeah, but this was actually planned, so I will mark it as a planned. It will just warn me that if I change to planned, it needs to recalculate, so it will disappear for a minute, the report, and then it will need to be recalculated. And when you say, okay, this is planned, you can also put there some ticket number, because there was, or perhaps it was a change, and you can some comment, and all this information would be then visible in the report. So this is something that the customers at the end, when they are presented with the PDF report, they see a bunch of outages. Usually they would not be really happy about that. So, and they would be asking. So to prevent these unnecessary questions, you can directly put there all the information, and you can say, yeah, but this was a planned change. This was related to the OS patching, or there was, I don't know, replacement of some hardware, and that's the reason why this was down, and this was approved. Therefore, it's not calculated against the SLA. Okay, just quickly about the schedules. So you can define pretty much, as mentioned, very customizable schedules, and these schedules are then used for planned downtimes and scheduled reports. So for example, here you can say, okay, every second Sunday, every 1 month, I want to have a maintenance. So you would say the maintenance is happening between like 18 and 22. So this would be the definition. And during this time, whatever you bind to this schedule would be executed with this schedule. So let's say in the planned downtimes, here you see this is one that I already defined before, and this was related to a restart of the PRTG, because whenever you restart the PRTG, you are for a short moment pretty much losing the view on all the systems. So for a short time, you are not actually collecting the data from the system, unless those data are being collected by the remote probes, because those would be cached and those would be delivered afterwards. So that would be no issue. But if you have some monitoring from the core directly and you restart it, you wouldn't really you would have a bit of like monitoring data gap in it. And this is again something that you want to mark in inside the reports, and you can do it for like retrospectively in the past for all the sensors or for whatever sensors that you need. So let's say I had there something before. So there was this reboot. Give it some description. Here I know that the reboot was happening here between midnight and 11. So let's say this is the one schedule that I defined for that. And then you just select what sensors you want to include. So you either select manually any sensors that were affected, but in best case you rather do selection like, okay, I want to, like, all the SLAs that I have defined are affected, so I just want to select all of them, and all of them would have a mark in the PDF and in the reports. So this was the planned downtime or the planned reboot of the PRTG. So this is why you see this gap of monitoring data, but there was actually no outage during this time. And you can also use schedules for delivering the reports. So here, if I show this one, so here you give it some name. The name here is not really that important. You put there some email address where you want to have the reports delivered. Those will be delivered as PDFs, and you could put like a list of email addresses or of your customers here, or team managers, or whoever you need to deliver the reports to. And then again, you select the schedule. So in this case, most likely you would select some recurring schedule. So, for example, this one. So this is happening every month, first day of the month, and it will be happening forever. So you select what SLAs should be delivered with this schedule. So, okay, I want to have all of them, or I want to have perhaps only those that are related to Awesome DC. And then, important part, you say, okay, I'm getting a monthly, so I want to have a period type should be a month here. And I'm interested in the previous one because it's first day of the month, so I want to see like how the last month was doing. So did I meet all of them, all the SLAs or not? And additionally, you can also say, okay, my month is from 15th to 14th, or typically from first to last day of the month. So these were for the main features. As I mentioned before, you can also do like you can define multiple PRTG servers here. You can create different users. You can create user groups and assign permissions to it. One maybe nice things to show. As Thomas mentioned before, you can also have report available for the customers with anonymous access. So you can go to configuration of the reports, and here in the public report, you can add a new report where you can say, okay, this report should be available through this link with this hash. So as long as you have the link, you can access this report with read only. So you can share this link with your customers, and they can eventually watch the report pretty much live. They can review it every day, and they can see if there were some outages, if the SLAs are being met or not. So this is of course optional. You don't need to do that, but this is something that some end users were very require this feature, so they were really happy to get a view on their SLA. Okay, I guess that was more or less it from my side.
There was a lot of information there. Libor, thank you very much for that presentation. So it's my understanding effectively that that the PRTG SLA Reporter is an extension of the PRTG solution. And I'm curious, my sense would be that that not a lot of people have a service level agreement monitoring solution in place, but most people have a network monitoring solution in place. Is that how you'd read it as well?
Yeah, I would say the monitoring is very essential, but not everyone at the end has the SLA monitoring on the top of it. So some monitoring solutions comes with various level of SLA reporting as well, but it's not always enough. So usually the SLA reporting that comes with the monitoring is perhaps not that flexible, not that customizable, perhaps does not show these advanced metrics. So yeah, at the end, it's a good idea to have a dedicated tool that gives you all these options.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit, Tomas, about how to engage Paessler around a trial, right? Usually most people want to get a sense for this, and I know again that it kind of sits on top of the PRTG solution, but I'm curious kind of how you bring it to somebody who's curious about taking the next step and seeing an event like this and then wanting to learn more in their particular instance.
There's an easy way. You can download it and implement it and use it with the full functionality for 30 days. And if you have any questions, then you will get a full support as if you are a customer. So this means we help even up to video sessions to set up the system in case of any problems.
Well, excellent. And we would certainly encourage everybody who's interested in learning more about Paessler to go to the Paessler website. There's a whole host of information, not only around the SLA monitoring, but around Paessler in general. And Paessler has been around for, like we said, since I think 2000 anyway, and is really a leader, according to every major metric, a leader in this network monitoring space. In terms of questions, actually, that we're getting, can we give access to the reports to an end customer?
Yes.
Yeah, you can either like create a user for them, so they have they can go through multiple reports that are perhaps assigned to them, or you can share this link directly with them, so they do not need to go through any authentication, and they just see the reports with the direct link. So yeah, that's pretty common.
Can they have an SLA based upon network bandwidth?
That's also possible, but you need to have some additional configuration, because what the SLA plugin works, or SLA Reporter works strictly on the state of the sensor. So it only reports whether the sensor is reported as green or red, like up or down. And to have the information about the bandwidth, you need to configure the thresholds in the PRTG for the sensors, which is very easy to do. You can have some defaults, and then you would say, okay, so if this specific network interface goes above this bandwidth, then I would consider it, because they were perhaps assigned only this amount of bandwidth. If they go above and go above too often, I want to know about that. So you just need to define a threshold in PRTG, and then you can use that sensor in SLA, because it would show in SLA like whenever it was breached, whenever it went above the threshold that was set for the bandwidth. So yeah, this is possible. It's just not the most common usage for it, but it's definitely possible.
And with regard to pricing, I know you have some pricing for the SLA Reporter subscription on the website. First things first, you do need the PRTG network monitoring subscription to begin with, but it's not that much more to layer this on top. Am I reading that right?
About the pricing, I have to point to the sales team at Paessler. But the prices for the SLA Reporter are only subscription based, yeah, and they are not really high. This I can tell. And you can use it with any kind of PRTG version. This means with the perpetual or with the non-perpetual version. Both are working together with it.
Yeah. So walk us through. While we have a few minutes left, walk us through. Somebody already has some network monitoring in place, but they see a functionality like this and realize that they might not be able to get that with what they currently have. Walk us through a little bit about how they might go about engaging Paessler in getting actually a whole new network monitoring solution.
There are a lot of materials about documentation about the PRTG, what it is capable of, so maybe that might be the starting point. But there is also a trial version of PRTG that also at the end could be used as a free version. There is for up to 100 sensors you can use the PRTG completely free. But when you install it first time, you have again 30 days trial with unlimited number of sensors that you can assign. And I would highly encourage to start in this direction, to see what is the power of PRTG, what are the capabilities. And then of course there are options for getting some additional consulting and support directly from Paessler, so we can deliver a whole range of services in this direction.
Yeah, this was fascinating. Excellent presentation. The topic is one that people really need to be paying attention to, and certainly not only with regard to network monitoring, but taking network monitoring to that next level and being able to provide that service level reporting really is kind of delivering at the highest possible level, and we always like to see that. So, Thomas, Libor, thanks very much for being here today. It was great to have you. We look forward to tracking your progress with Paessler here at Solutions Review. If you're interested in anything that we're writing with regard to network monitoring, obviously come to solutionsreview.com and check out our network monitoring site, and you'll read all about everything that we're covering. Best of luck for the coming year, and we'll hope to talk to you soon on down the road.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
So there you have it. Another solution in our spotlight. We want to thank Paessler and Thomas and Libor for that presentation, and we appreciate your attendance as well. Until next time, I'm Doug Atkinson here at Solutions Review. Thanks for watching.